So, you just got home, you got all your tools together, and you just bought that model, or it just came in the mail. You're ready to go to the bench and start building, right? Wrong. You're not even close. Today, I'll show you step by step how I go about starting a model kit. Hi, I'm Mike Myers, and this here is Moosey, and you're here at another episode of Modeling with Mike. So come along to the bench with me, and I'll show you exactly how I start a kit. All right, we're back at the workbench, and before we start, I need to go over why uh, starting the right way matters. Because, and there's three reasons. You avoid mistakes, you get better results, and it all ends up with a smoother build from the start to the finish. And if you do it right, you end up with something like this. This is my 59 Corvette, and it's about done. I need to do some clear coats on it and polish it, but other than that, it's pretty well done. And that's what you're, something near that's what you're aiming for. Okay? Now, this is, I just chose this out of my stash because this is basically has everything you're looking for in a new model kit. Although it's very old, I got it used off of eBay. And this is the Bill Elliott's McDonald's Thunderbird. Now, first thing you want to do is look around the outside. It has features here. It'll show, look for what kind of paint you'll need. This shows you every color you're going to need for this. And if you don't have it in your supply, you got to order it. Okay? Look around some more. And this basically just has pictures and skill level. This is most challenging kit. So if you're a beginner, you might not want to use it or do it. So let's unbox it, see what it comes with. I usually just turn my top over, put this in here. Should come with a set of instructions. Got a nice, beautiful decals here. You have some tires, a sprue of clear parts, a sprue of chrome parts, our body, and we're lucky here. We have our roof flaps there molded in. Look for any imperfections. This is looking pretty good. Got a little bit of flash there. I'll show you how to get rid of that. We take this out. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 sprues to this. And this part just fell off, so we'll put it back into the bag here. What you want to look for while you're looking at these is look for missing parts. Look for missing parts. I don't see one there. That's the one that fell off that I just put away. Everything's there. All fine on that one. That one's fine. And that one's fine. Okay, now after you look through all these, everything's fine on these two. Now, once you've looked through and found out that everything is there, take a look at your instructions, okay? At the front, your instructions always have a little few paragraphs about the model and about, this is about the McDonald's stock car, and has a little thing about Bill Elliott. So, and you read that, learn a little bit about the car. Always read this information. It's always helpful in your build. Then it always says, read this before you begin. Always the same thing, but read it. There could be something in there that is new. And this is basically just basic stuff. Study assembly drawings. Star indicates chrome plastic. Comes down here to tell you step by step how to put on your decals. And it shows you again all the paints you're going to need. Now, and also every sign you're going to see and what they mean. So now you go through here. These are usually pretty straightforward. This is probably a skill level 3 because of the number of parts. It has 5 or 6, I believe is what I said. And this is great because this will show you everything. It shows you the color that they want you to paint them. There's a star, it's a chrome part, and it shows you the order they want it built in. Okay, great. Now the reason you want to go through these is you look through, you see if there's any step that's out of order that'll cause you a problem in your build. Because a lot of these are engineered to very, very close specifications. And if you get a part in there before another part, that part might not fit. So this looks pretty straightforward. We're going to keep going here. Just got your roll cage going on side by side, side after side, and the top, and your hoses, stiffener bars after the roll cage has been constructed. Get the fuel cell in back and the kicker bar, frame brace after everything else. That makes sense. Suspension goes into the chassis, and then your main arm assemblies, and yeah, all that looks like it makes sense. Engine goes in, pipes and the drive shaft go on, frame braces. Oh, absolutely. This is all lining up in order and making sense. Always look for the little notes to help you out. Instruments have aluminum gauge rims, red dials, aluminum switches, and details. So you'll want to dry brush all that in aluminum, not white. Unless you have one decal there, it looks like. Moosey quiet. Fan shroud goes in there with the radiator. Got the shock assembly up first. Oh, wait. Lower and upper hose. Okay, and then the shock assembly. That makes sense. Oil cooler lines, oil filter. Lower arms go into the chassis. Body parts go on the hood. Rear pins, rear bumper, all your windows. And wow, this is nice. This is the first car model I've seen where the tires are the last to go on. And here you have a roof cam for the networks, and says open up hole in roof first, then add that, and then it goes on. And this will show you where all your decals go. Okay, but make sure you go through this before you start. Sprue organization. Usually, like, say you have a 1/72nd model plane or model tank, you're only going to have like 2 or 3 sprues. You won't need to organize them in any way. I just usually throw them in the box and I'll go through them as I need to find the part. You are going to need a sprue organizer, and I will show you what one looks like once I bring it up. Here is a sprue holder right there. It looks just like that. And I will leave, this one is $11.99, free delivery, and I will leave a link for this in the video description. All these slots, put a sprue in there, and it'll stand up on the side, and you'll have them nicely organized. So that's a great thing to have for a kit like this. All right, you need to have something like that, or else, like I said, if it's 1/72nd, a small scale kit has 2 or 3 sprues, I wouldn't worry about it. You remember, right? This body here, we had this little bit of flash. Let's see if I can show you. It's right there. Right there. Yeah. So basically, that's easy to get rid of. You just take your knife, boom, 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 done. Clean. And you go through here, look for any more flash. If I haven't told you what flash is, there's no flash here. Flash is basically excess plastic that has gone through the sides of the mold and attached itself onto the part. And very little flash. There's a little bit on there. And basically all you need to do, there's a little bit here. Take your knife, just clean it like that. There you go. No parts. It doesn't look like there's gonna be any bad seam lines in here either. No raised plastic there. If you had raised seam lines, all you'd do, like if there was a seam line there, is you'd take your knife and just scrape it down, and you'll get rid of that seam line. But there doesn't seem to be much here. This is a good kit. Okay, now basically for your tools to get this off and to start, you want to gather together your tools. You're going to need your hobby knife, as I've shown you. You need your sprue cutters to get these off the sprues. you're gonna need to basically, how do you get them off the sprue? I'll show you here real quick. Showed you in the Tools of the Trade series, but you'll want in there like that clip. In there like that, not totally against the part clip. That'll leave some just a little extra bit on there. And you'll need sanding sticks to get rid of that. And you'll just take that and go down here. That's smooth. Run it like that. Smooth again. And this is ready to go. Always remember when you're before you glue your parts together, dry fit them. Make sure they're in alignment, okay, before you start gluing them, because once that glue's set, and if you have something out of line, that's going to throw off something else down the line in the build. And you'll have so many problems because a part won't fit. And you'll be pulling your hair out. So always remember to dry fit. After you've gone through, done all that, this model is great. It's done it for you. You want to figure out whether you want to make sub-assemblies first and paint all your sub-assemblies, or whether you want to build the whole thing and paint it afterwards. And my thing, especially for cars and race cars like NASCAR, I keep the parts on the sprue. I will do a gray undercoat, spray a gray undercoat on all of them. Let that dry overnight, and then I'll spray color by color. Every part that is that particular color, I'll spray it, let it set. Next, when that's dry, go to the next color, dry, spray it all, let it dry, go to the next color, and so on and so forth. And you say, but what happens when you take it off and you clean it up and everything? You're gonna get the paint off, right? Right. Well, once it's all, the sub-assemblies all put together, I will touch up everything that's visible. Okay? And that seems to work well for me. On planes, if I have a plane, I'll usually build the engine and the cockpit as sub-assemblies, then paint them, put the plane together, and then the outside, the wings, the stabilizers, the fuselage, I will primer that and paint it, and then do my clear coats and decals and all that. Same thing with tanks, AFVs. And ships, I usually paint those as I go. And a lot of times I'll paint them, well, I almost have to paint them as I go because they're always different colors. You can have a brown, and then part of the hull will be black, and another part white. So it's going to be a lot of masking and painting. When you go along, you're going to have, like on planes, especially planes, you're going to have seam lines. And I have a plane here. I have two fuselages. You put these two together. Well, we'll get these together. You're going to notice there's going to be a seam line down there. Okay? Now you're going to have to put some filler in there. I could see this needing filler, some putty, or maybe some sprue goo and some sanding. Put the sprue goo on there first, right down the middle of the seam. Let it dry. Give it a day or so to dry. And I would put some rubber band on here to keep it together. And once it's dry, use some, I got 220 grit, 220, 440 grit sandpaper, sand it down. Then use some 1,000 grit or more to polish it. Boom, 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 boom. And you're all fine. Okay, that's one thing to look for is seam lines. And gaps, same thing. Gaps will show up. What you need here is precision and patience. Okay? If you don't have precision and patience, your model build's going to be a nightmare. And you always, always want to make sure you're taking your time. Rushing at the start can cause a lot of problems later on in your build. And you don't want problems later in the build because everything is put together and everything's ready to go. And this thing doesn't, and your engine's not fitting in there correctly. I had that with my very first model back to modeling. And it wasn't fun, and it turned out that the car didn't look good at all. Always remember to test fit. Everything gets test fitted. I'll show you here with the body and the front fender. You got front fender, I'll nip it off. Where's my sanding stick? Here we go. Clean it up. Where's that other edge? And let's see, okay, there it is. So make sure it fits. You gotta make sure everything fits. And this is what pre-fitting is all about. Test fitting is what it's called. Make sure, see how that fits on there? Nice, nice. That's gonna fit nice. Might need a little bit more cleanup, but it's gonna fit nice. That's what test fitting's all about. You gotta make sure you do that constantly. It'll make your build go a lot better, and it'll make you avoid those surprises later on. Now, if you turn around toward the outside of the room, we'll go over the what we've learned here, and we'll wrap up this video. Okay, we're back, and let's go over what we've learned today, shall we? Uh, Once you've used your model kit and you've got it and you got all your tools, take your time to start the kit right. Open it up, look what you have. Make sure there's instructions in there. Make sure there's decals in there. Make sure all your parts are there, and inspect the parts. Make sure they're in good condition. Make sure there's no flash and all that, just to make sure you're going to have a nice smooth build later. Go through your instructions, especially the information about your model, so that way you can go and find pictures of it for research purposes, and look at the paint guide. Make sure you have all the paints you're going to need for it, and if you don't, order those. Go through the instructions step by step. Make sure the order makes sense and it's all going to fit together nicely and in a order that makes sense. That's not going to have parts not fit because there's another part that went there before it. Highlight areas for modification, or scratch building, or some places if you want to use aftermarket parts instead of the parts that you have. You know, maybe you have an engine that looks like a blob of plastic instead of an engine. You might want to go get some 3D molded plastic parts for that on the aftermarket. Organize your sprues. Organized sprues makes it a lot easier when you could just look at your sprue and find it real quick. Usually your sprues are marked A, B, C, D. Ones in this kit I showed you aren't. So that your sprue uh, organizer is not going to help much. Uh, if you don't have a sprue organizer, by the way, I'm going to leave a link for a sprue organizer and for the toolkit that we discussed in the Tools of the Trade series. I'm going to leave a link for both of those in the video description. Look for places that are going to have raised uh, seam lines. And remember, don't cut them off. You scrape them off with a knife. There's a difference between cutting and scraping. If you cut, you're probably going to gouge the part, and that's going to require some filling and sanding and extra work. You're going to need to remove flash if there's any flash on there. Flash, as I said, is the excess plastic that attaches itself to your parts, and you'll know it when you see it. You'll see the part and there's excess plastic hanging off. That's usually due to a old mold or too much pressure being injected into the mold. The plastic's being injected at too high a pressure, and it's bleeding out. Make sure you have the right tools. If you need a knife, have a knife. Your sprue cutters, you're going to need uh, sanding sticks and your glues and everything like that. always dry fit. Dry fit before gluing. Don't don't do it the opposite. You're gonna have troubles. Decide when you're gonna paint the model, whether you're gonna build sub-assemblies and paint it then, whether you're gonna build the whole thing and then paint it. Go with what's going to be easiest, okay? And less of a pain in the butt. Always remember two things: precision and patience. This whole hobby is built on patience and precision. And if you have a part out of alignment, that can throw off the whole build. If you have a part uh, like on this stock car, you have one of the roll cages, part of the roll cages hanging out from the chassis. That body's not going to fit. Make sure you got it on there right. Precision and patience. And always, I cannot emphasize this enough, always dry fit before you glue. Next video. Before I get to that, I want to say that since last video, we've had about 20, between 20 and 25 more subscriptions to this channel. I'd like to say welcome to those people, and I hope you're able to learn a thing or three from me. And you start with this video. And the next video is going to be part one of my Airbrushing 101 series. We're going to go the ins and outs of airbrushes themselves. And after that, we'll go through air compressors and spray booths. And part four will be actual airbrushing. You'll get to see some airbrushing. So that's about all I have for this one. If you learned something about this, if it helped you out on how to start a kit, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, share it, comment in the space provided if you want to catch the next bunch of videos. And with that being said, always remember to keep pushing your modeling boundaries. And we will see you next video. Bye-bye.